Guys, let me tell you, Rand Paul has been bringing the heat, okay? He has been warning time and time again that this whole impeachment thing is a path that the GOP ultimately does not want to go down because it may divide the GOP to the point that it will not be repairable, okay? Now, what he's also doing as well, which I think is important, is to let the American people know who is currently thinking what right now. Okay? Who currently wants to go along with impeachment and who currently doesn't. Right? So my man is out here saying the things he has to say, doing the things he has to do in order to try to keep the party together and ultimately trying to keep the peace. Okay? Because everything is about keeping peace. Okay, so Rand Paul is trying to do that. The Democrats, on the other hand, are trying to divide. Okay, they're trying to divide. Today, there was a debate among whether or not they should move forward with the Senate trial. And like I said before, Rand Paul held his own. But before we get into that, my name is Greg Foreman and you're watching A Black Conservative Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share A Black Conservative Perspective, aka a leftist worst nightmare. You can also follow me on Twitter at GForemanBCP. Let's get it. All right, guys. So let's take a look at Rand Paul's argument regarding the impeachment of former President Trump.
This impeachment is nothing more than a partisan exercise designed to further divide the country. Democrats claim to want to unify the country, but impeaching a former president, a private citizen, is the antithesis of unity. Democrats brazenly appointing a pro-impeachment Democrat to preside over the trial is not fair or impartial and hardly encourages any kind of unity in our country. No, unity is the opposite of this travesty we are about to witness. If we are about to try to impeach a president, where is the Chief Justice? If the accused is no longer president, where is the constitutional power to impeach him? Private citizens don't get impeached. Impeachment is for removal from office. And the accused here has already left office. Hyper-partisan Democrats are about to drag our great country down into the gutter of rancor and vitriol, the likes of which has never been seen in our nation's history. Instead of doing the nation's work with their new majorities in the House, the Senate, and the executive branch, Democrats are wasting the nation's time on a partisan vendetta against a man no longer in office.
You know, he's 100% right about that, right? Like, I mean, that's something to think about. Like, you're wasting time going after somebody that's not in office, right? Potentially further alienating parts of this country, right? That you say that you want to bring together, right? Everybody say they want to be together, but when it comes time to actually put in the work and the actions to be together, you know, people don't want to use a little bit of forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is key, okay? You forgive and you move on, right? That's what the Democrats should probably be trying to do here if they really want unity. However, it's the things they focus on trying to continue to punish a president who's essentially already been punished and at this point can't really defend himself. So I think what Rand Paul is arguing here is very principled, and I really respect it.
It's almost as if they have no ability to exist except in opposition to Donald Trump. Without him as their boogeyman, they might have to legislate and to actually convince Americans that their policy prescriptions are the right ones.
Exactly. 100% true. Without President Trump to kick around and to pick on, the Democrats don't know what to do. Right. And I think part of this impeachment thing is it is a distraction from the Biden administration. It is a distraction from the fact that they haven't executed on any of their promises regarding stimulus or anything like that. OK, I think that this is ultimately what it's about.
Democrats are about to do something no self-respecting senator has ever stooped to. Democrats are insisting the election is actually not over. And so they insist on regurgitating the bitterness of the election. This acrimony they are about to unleash has never before been tried. Why? Because calmer heads have typically prevailed in our history and allowed public opinion to cast blame where blame is deserved. This sham of an impeachment will ostensibly ask whether the president incited the reprehensible behavior and violence of January 6th when he said, "I know everyone here will soon march to the Capitol to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard." Peacefully and patriotically, hardly words of violence. But what of Democrat words? What of Democrat incitement to violence? No Democrat will honestly ask whether Bernie Sanders incited the shooter that nearly killed Steve Scalise and volunteer coach. The shooter nearly pulled off a massacre. I was there because he fervently believed the false and inflammatory rhetoric spewed by Bernie and other Democrats, such as the Republican health care plan for the uninsured is that you die. As this avowed Bernie supporter shot Steve Scalise, nearly killing him, and shot one of our coaches and 2 or 3 of our staff, he screamed, "This is for health care. Ask me or anyone if that's incitement."
Now, again, this argument that Rand Paul is making here is fair, but I want to make it very, very, very clear because currently going through some things with YouTube. I do not condone violence, not on either side. I do not condone violence. Okay? Simply what Rand Paul is outlining here is the hypocrisy from the Democrats in terms of what they define as incitement. Okay? What happened at the Capitol is wrong. What happened, everything is wrong. Anything that's violent is wrong. I have to make this clear. I'm sorry, guys. And it's nothing wrong with calling that out, right? On both sides. Violence is bad. Okay? We should always try to remain as peaceful as possible when we can. However, both sides should take responsibility for when they say things that can cause people to become more extreme. So the point of Rand Paul's speech / argument here is to basically say that this whole impeachment trial is unconstitutional and to basically force a vote that's going to identify who wants to continue to go along with this and who doesn't. So it looks like we may have the answer to that question as 45 Republicans vote against proceeding with the Senate impeachment trial. Okay, 45 vote against proceeding with the trial. So that means 45 Republicans are basically saying that this is a sham and that this should not go anywhere. However, that leaves 5 GOP senators who voted against a move to declare impeachment unconstitutional. So let's take a look at who did that. Senators were sworn in as jurors to President Trump's impeachment trial Tuesday as the Senate voted 55 to 45 to end debate on Senator Rand Paul's point of order, arguing that the impeachment trial is unconstitutional now that Trump is out of office. 5 GOP senators voted not to dismiss the impeachment trial of President Trump. Susan Collins of Maine, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, no surprise there, Ben Sasse of Nebraska, and Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania, who's a very high-ranking Republican. They voted with all 50 Democrats to table the point of order. I also think they are missing Mitt Romney here. I think Mitt Romney voted not to dismiss the impeachment trial either. So he's not up there, but Mitt Romney is also in there. No surprises. Now, a surprise to some of you guys, and to me a little bit here, but not really because I know this man is basically a finesser. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who has indicated he has an open mind on whether Trump should be convicted, voted against ending debate. So basically, he said that, hey, at the very least, we should keep debating, right? Now, some people may look at this as an indication in terms of how they might vote during the actual trial. I'm not sure if I would put too much stock in it, right? I think that the 5 GOP senators are definitely likely convictions for sure, right? If you have 5 GOP senators that want to end debate, then those are probably likely convictions, which means they would have 55 votes, right? Which means they would need about 12 more or so in order to actually get a conviction. So this is important because the flip side of that is people can say, well, do they actually have 12 votes, Republican votes in the Senate to actually make it happen? I think that's where Mitch McConnell comes in. It's ultimately going to be up to him because I think that he would be able to get those extra 12 votes because of his status as minority leader and the leader of the Republican Party. However, you do have those guys, the 5 GOP senators who, are going to be self-righteous and decide to go out on their own and do their own thing, right? And I'm pretty sure McConnell's not necessarily telling them to stop, right? At the very least. So Rand Paul had told reporters earlier that he would make a point of order alleging that the trial is contrary to the Constitution, an argument that multiple Republican senators have made that forced a vote on the point of order requiring senators to go on the record about whether they believe the trial is constitutional. The Senate also passed its pre-trial organizing resolution 83-17, and the impeachment trial will be adjourned until Tuesday, February 9th, as Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell had been pushing for. So we're going to get this in a couple of weeks. So they're going to drag this out as long as possible. Paul said he expected his resolution to prove that there would be, quote, no chance of impeaching the president in the Senate. Quote, I think there will be enough support on it to show there's no chance they can impeach the president. Paul told reporters Tuesday, if 34 people support my resolution that this is an unconstitutional proceeding, it shows that they don't have the votes and we're basically wasting our time. The Senate would need a 2/3 majority or at least 67 votes to convict the president. Republicans have called to move on from impeachment now that Trump is out of office, adding that to continue pursuing the matter would further divide the country. Paul, in the floor remarks ahead of the vote, claimed that the absence of the Chief Justice, who presides over impeachment trials in the Senate, made the trial unconstitutional. The Kentucky Republican said that without the Chief Justice present, the trial was not a trial, but of a private citizen. All right, so he kind of touches on something that some people have been talking about in terms of Chief Justice John Roberts basically ducking presiding over the trial. And basically, Chief Justice John Roberts essentially is saying that, hey, because the Constitution says that the Chief Justice has to preside over the president, and because Trump is no longer the president, the precedent that was set before in the past had the, I think, pro tempore of the Senate actually reside over impeachment trials. And the current pro tempore of the Senate is Patrick Leahy from Vermont, who's a Democrat. So that's basically how Chief Justice Roberts basically kind of got around presiding over this thing. Now, Chuck Schumer is arguing against Rand Paul, and he's basically saying that Rand Paul's assessment was flat out wrong and had been completely debunked by constitutional scholars all across the political spectrum. The Democrat leader said that Paul had left out Article 1, Section 3, where the Constitution states that the officials can be barred from holding office ever again through impeachment. Quote, judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to remove from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. The Constitution reads, if the framers intended impeachment to be merely a vehicle to remove a president from Senate office, they would not have included this, Schumer argued. So those are both sides of the arguments. And as you can see here, Rand Paul kind of did something smart and basically is showing the American people that, the Republicans are kind of talking a big game, right, about how some of them want to convict. But when it comes down to actually voting, right, or trying to move forward with it, most of them, a majority of them, are kind of hesitant to do so. And to me, guys, that still shows the power and the influence that the former president still has over this party. Okay? Because you would think that with some of the things that have been said from Mitch McConnell, you would think that you would have more people who would be willing to end debate and to just move forward with it. However, a lot of them, most of them, just weren't, including McConnell himself. So this could be a move by McConnell to continue to try to save face and to buy his time, because he already knew that you was going to have the self-righteous Republicans vote to move forward with it. So that's probably it in terms of why he did it. So I don't really think it means anything. I don't think it really shows anything. But I could see how people could come away with a takeaway that there's not enough support. But like I said, I mean, if you count all 5 that voted to move forward with it, they only really need about 12 more. So do they have 12? I don't know. I think it depends on McConnell. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.
Okay, back with me now is KT McFarland, former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor. KT, we love having you on. Okay, big fight between top Democrat Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is criticizing former acting DNI Rick Grenell of being too political. But Rick Grenell is saying, wait a second, you're the House Intelligence Chair. You regularly leaked and distorted classified information to go after President Trump and his administration. Your thoughts on this fight?
You know, normally, Liz, I don't like to get in the middle of these spats. I usually kind of avoid them. But in this case, Rick Grenell has Adam Schiff dead. He just has him dead in the water. And here's why. You know, Adam Schiff is chairman of the Judiciary Committee, House Judiciary Committee. For 3 years, he got hearings behind closed doors, classified hearings, where they said time and again, there's nothing to the Russia collusion story. There was no collusion. President Trump had nothing to do with the Russians. There was never anything to the Mike Flynn thing. Day after day after day, he got these briefings. But you know what he then did? He would run out to the press and he would say openly, baldly, you know, he would say, look, I've just had an important intelligence briefing and I think Donald Trump has colluded with Putin. I think he's Putin's puppet, I think were his words. So not only was he leaking, he was lying about it. So I think Rick Grenell has a real point here. Adam Schiff, you know, I'm not really sure what he was trying to do other than to promote Russia, Russia, Russia is the main problem. And the real problem is that because of that, because of the Russia, Russia, Russia obsession, we took our eye off the ball. The real problem was China, China, China.
You know, KT, the litmus test might be if leaks continue out of House intelligence under the Biden administration. You know, a critic said, an intelligence source said, you know, it's pretty rich somebody who politicized intelligence for so many years, like Adam Schiff did, is accusing others of politicizing. So that's the fight there. And, you know, Rick Grenell is saying, listen, I asked for reforms out of Adam Schiff to help us with reforms, and he didn't do it. These are reforms that career intelligence officials, Rick Grenell said, wanted, but Schiff blocked that. Your thoughts on that?
You know, if anybody's ever reading an article or they're hearing a report, the minute you hear anonymous sources in the intelligence community, turn it off. Stop reading. Anonymous sources in the Intelligence Committee just means somebody's putting out a story, spinning it, and trying to accomplish something that they were not normally able to accomplish in the normal course of events. And here's how it happens. Let's say you're in the intelligence community and you want to investigate somebody. Let's say you want to investigate Donald Trump. Well, you leak the story, and it's illegal to do it. So what you do, you leak stories in the press, and then you can point, you the intelligence official, you can point to the story in the press and say, see, I think that's a just cause. We've got to go investigate this. So they're reporting, they're leaking, and then they're turning to the story they leaked in the first place to do stuff they're probably not supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened with the FBI using the Yahoo News story by Michael Isikoff that was a leak in order to get a FISA wiretap on, I think, Carter Page. You know, so here, the thing is that the leaks got so bad that DNI Ratcliffe had to cancel in-person briefings. The FBI was actually, declassified docs show, the FBI was actually helping Adam Schiff read documents. And then and then he goes on and leaked and distorted. That's the accusation. And then Adam Schiff also sat on 6 transcripts that Devin Nunes worked on with the House Intelligence probe into Trump Russia, you know, showing there was no there, and Schiff sat on it. So you wonder in the Biden administration what it's going to look like with Adam Schiff. Your final word.
Well, let's see. You know, is Adam Schiff going to continue to shill for the Democrats? If so, then I think the leaks are all going to make the Biden administration sound terrific. However, Adam Schiff may decide, he's just going to shill for himself. Who knows? We'll have to stay tuned, Liz. It should be a lot of fun to watch.
Okay, stay tuned. KT McFarland, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you. Come back.
Senator Ron Johnson now says there are no rhinos on the Senate Homeland Security Committee holding up subpoenas of key Obamagate suspects and actors. Johnson attributed his initial suggestion of rhino resistance yesterday to a, quote, misunderstanding between him and radio host Hugh Hewitt. Johnson's office telling us today that, quote, committee members want Chairman Johnson to attempt to get voluntary compliance and also to be fully prepared for interviews by obtaining necessary documents before compelling testimony, that is, ordering subpoenas. In an interview with Fox News, Johnson went on to further explain. He said, subpoenas will be forthcoming, that I can guarantee you. Joining us now to help us try to make sense of all of this is Congressman Doug Collins, ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee and Republican candidate for Senate in the grand state of Georgia. Congressman, good to have you with us. We need a little translation, a little Capitol Hill interpretation from you. Johnson says there's rhino resistance on a Wednesday, tells there's none on a Thursday, and meanwhile there are suspects, clear suspects, of doing just what he says didn't happen, that is blocking his effort to get subpoenas on Obamagate, and amongst them, of course, Mitt Romney, Senator Langford. It looks very, very bad for the committee.
Well, it does look bad for the community, but worse, Lou, it looks bad for the U.S. I mean, we need to get to the bottom of this. I've been on here with you a lot. I've been working in the House with my colleagues to get this testimony. Let's just go. I mean, they have had, a long time now in the Senate with their majority to actually get these documents. We both know. Comey, Jim Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page, Brennan, Clapper, all these folks, you need to get them in. Get them on there in a deposition. Get them under oath so that you can ask the questions that need to be asked. The American people want to know. The Congress has been asking for this. We've been asking for this. We've been revealing this for a while. The new transcripts that Lindsey Graham put out, the transcripts that I put out last year, all show that there was wrongdoing. It's time to get to the bottom of it. No matter what the excuse is, let's get them under oath. Let's get this moving, because we're running out of time to actually let the American people show vividly what they did and the corruption they did at this president, who, by the way, had another great day today. They tried to stop this. Could you imagine what would have happened if they'd have stopped President Trump? We would not have had the big success that we had, and right now the world will be in a worse place, I believe. But we've got to get this information out, Lou. No more feet dragging on this.
Yeah. Yeah, well, to your a number of your points, one of which is this president and all that he has achieved, all that he has accomplished, and amongst those achievements is the state of this economy before the Wuhan virus hit. What shape would this country be in if he had not driven the strongest period of prosperity in our country's history before the China virus was unleashed upon us? It's you can look at this a number of ways. No president has done more than he has in the first 3.5 years of presidency. It's remarkable. But it's also remarkable that the Republican Party has creatures like Mitt Romney, who tried to block the subpoenas around Burisma, now are trying to block subpoenas. We know that that Mitt Romney is amongst those trying to block Ron Johnson's Obamagate investigation, and no one is raising Mitch McConnell, the majority leader. The party leader should be demanding much more from Senator Romney.
We've got to have people willing to stand up. I mean, look, for those of us who stood up for this president, for those of us who stood up for the last 18 months and fought the likes of Nadler, Schiff, and Pelosi, and Schumer, and Durbin, all these folks who wanted to take down this president, who tried to show that there was a corruption around every territory. My question is now, let's be honest with the American people. And if there's a Republican or anybody who wants to stand in the way of this investigation, then let them go to a camera and say why they don't want to know about the corruption of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Why don't they want to go and say, why don't they want to know about the corruption that we saw with Comey, Strzok, McCabe, and Page? Why would we not want to know more about what happened with General Flynn when he was unmasked, not just by almost everybody in the Obama administration's senior leadership, but Joe Biden himself as vice president? Lou, it's time we show the world that we're serious about this, because people need to be held accountable for what they did. And if they don't, they'll think they can get away with it, and that's not right.
Well, it's to see Senator Portman, Senator Langford, and Romney, trying to block this by all appearances. We also have this. This statement from Senator Romney. If we could put this up about his idea of blocking Burisma investigations to begin with and subpoenas. He said, "There's no question, but the appearance of looking into Burisma and Hunter Biden appears political, and I think people are tired of these kind of political investigations, and I would hope that if there's something of significance that needs to be evaluated, that it'll be done by perhaps the FBI or some other agency that's..." Oh my gosh, it just goes on. I mean, it's pitiful. It is absolutely pitiful, and he knows what he's doing. And he also has friends and associates, at least one, who was on the board of Burisma, so he looks like he's conflicted and should have recused himself from any comment on it.
Look, I have a question. If this appears political, but it's a wrong, and things were done wrong, and possible laws were broken, and things were circumvented, especially when it would be with Burisma or would it be with the investigation of the president, it's our duty to look into it. It's not about, should we not look into Jim Comey and McCabe and the rest of them because it was political that they wanted to take out the president? No, it was wrong. They signed affidavits to the FISA court. They admitted under oath that were full and accurate when they actually went and told others they knew that it wasn't accurate. In fact, we've also saw just in this past week where now we know that Christopher Wray, who I've called for to resign because he is in a position where they've not been honest with the Senate. The FBI is feet dragging. My question to anybody is, if it's political and it's wrong, you've got to go after right and wrong. Our country understands right and wrong. They understand what's going on, but you can't be afraid of being appearance when you're actually going for the truth. My question is, why aren't we going for the truth?
Yeah, and if Senator Romney's so concerned about political statements and the appearance of being political, he should perhaps examine everything he's said and done concerning President Trump and his reactions to this president throughout. It has been acidic, petty, and purely political on his part. And did he notice that there was a sham special counsel, an absolute contrived coup attempt on the President of the United States seeking to overthrow him by the radical Dems and some rhinos, we might add? Congressman Doug Collins, always good to have you with us. Great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We love this section of the world. It's a beautiful section. We appreciate it very much. And I'm thrilled to be back in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania so much. Thank you. This is the state where the story of American independence began. It's the state where the American Constitution was signed. Think of that. And 3 days from now, this is the state that will save the American dream. On November 3rd, we're going to win Pennsylvania, and we are going to win 4 more years in that very beautiful White House. We're gathered today in a very special place. In the harrowing days of December 1776, when the American Revolution seemed lost, General George Washington made his headquarters at this Bucks County farmhouse to plan his famous crossing of the Delaware. On Christmas night, he led what remained, and remained, very little remained, of that ragtag Continental Army on a daring midnight raid. It was a tough night. It was a violent night. They marched through 9 miles of ice and snow, many without boots on their feet, leaving a trail of blood in their wake. At dawn, they seized victory at Trenton. Their sacrifice turned the entire tide of the war. Those soldiers came from every walk of life, but what united them all was their devotion to the principle of self-government. They were determined to live in a country where power belongs to the people. That priceless inheritance is at stake just 3 days from now, and a great red wave is forming. As sure as you're there, as sure as we're here together, that wave is forming, and they see it on all sides, and there's not a thing they can do about it. This is the fundamental question facing every voter in America. Do you want to be a nation ruled by the corrupt political class, or do you want to be governed by the American people? I ran for office 4 years ago because I could not sit by and watch any longer as a small group of Washington insiders continued to get rich, bleeding American dry. You're just bleeding America dry. Think of it. Closing our factories, opening our borders, outsourcing our industries, and letting foreign countries ravage our middle class. Career politicians spend trillions of dollars fighting foreign wars while letting our own cities crumble and decay. Here in Pennsylvania, you know this bitter and very painful betrayal all too well, better than most. The corrupt Washington class launched an economic war against this state. For decades, they targeted your steel mills, shut down your plants, and sent millions of your jobs overseas, all while lining their pockets with special interest cash. And no one embodies this betrayal and treachery more than Joe Biden. And worst of all, the suppressed media and big tech refuses to cover the crime. They refuse to cover. We've learned so much over the last 2 weeks. For 47 years, he supported every disastrous trade deal that enriched his cronies and impoverished your state. He wiped out Pennsylvania Steel. He was the cheerleader for NAFTA and China's entry into the World Trade Organization. Pennsylvania lost 50% of your manufacturing jobs after those Biden disasters. Then Biden pushed the job-killing Paris Climate Accord, an economic nightmare for Pennsylvania miners and every worker in our country. He backed TPP, which would have extinguished the American auto industry forever. Forever. These betrayals not only made Biden's donors rich, they made his family rich. And as we know, he profited from the misery of unleashed work and horror given to Pennsylvania workers. He made a lot of money, and his family made a lot of money, and nobody knew about it until just recently. At the debate, I looked at him and said, Joe, you were here for 47 years, and you left only 3.5 years ago. Why didn't you do these things that you want done? Why didn't you fix it, Joe? And as you know, because I assume a number of you watched the debate, but as you know, he just looked at me and shrugged. fact, the anchor looked up and said, "Why did you do it?" She couldn't believe it. You know, she was on his side. She said, "Why did you do it? Why did you do it, and why did you say it?" In 2016, Pennsylvania voted to fire this failed and corrupt political establishment, and you voted for an outsider as president who is finally putting America first. And if I don't look like a typical politician, that's very simple. It's because I'm not a politician. If I don't always play by the rules of Washington and the Washington establishment, it's because I was elected to fight for you, and I fought harder for you than any president in the history of our country. From day one, Washington insiders have been trying to stop me because they do not own me and they do not control me. They want control. They don't like what I'm doing. They don't like what I've said to the big pharma, the drug companies, the number one lobbyist in the world, number one lobbyist in our country. They didn't like that I instituted favored nations so that we now pay the lowest prices in the world for prescription drugs instead of the highest prices in the world. If these corrupt forces succeed in electing Joe Biden, Washington will see to it that another outsider never becomes president again. It'll never happen again. And nobody has done in 3.5 years, nobody, no administration, no president, what we've done and what we've accomplished. And it's not even challenged. Nobody even challenges that. They'll take back control, and they will never, ever give it up. This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to beat the corrupt politicians will be lost forever, and they know it. They're fighting so hard, and they hate what they're seeing because they're not looking at fake suppression polls anymore. Now they're looking at the numbers that are pouring in, and they don't like the numbers that they're seeing in Florida and in Ohio and in North Carolina. And we think in Pennsylvania, although those numbers come in late. We think in Pennsylvania, they don't like it. They don't like it. They don't like what they see. And I just want to tell you that we have really, things have worked out so well for our country. Nobody had any idea that anything like this could ever happen. If you look at what's going on with, over the last 4 years, we've been building the biggest, strongest, and most secure middle class in human history. We built the most powerful military anywhere in the world. And over the next 4 years, we will make it even stronger like nobody thought even possible. Do not be intimidated by our opponents' angry and menacing tone, because if we were, we would never have been able to accomplish what we've accomplished. In truth, they are actually terrified of you, the people. They're terrified. They're terrified that you will discover that you have the power to end their corrupt rule once and for all. We have to do it. When you see what's going on, we have to do it. We don't have a choice. Somebody said, "Do you enjoy this?" I said, "It's not a question of enjoyment. Believe it or not, I do. I shouldn't. Have to go check something, but I shouldn't." But, you know, today we're doing 3 rallies. Tomorrow we're doing 5, and the smallest crowd will be 25,000 people. Then on Monday, we're doing 5 or 6. And I can't tell you what's going to happen. I think we'll just go home and rest. But they don't get to decide this election. This is your choice. We have to be very careful. We have to be very, very careful, especially in this state, more than any other state. They say you have to be very, very careful. What happens in Philadelphia, we have to be everybody has to watch, vigilant. Your decision, your future is at stake. As your president, I don't answer to the special interests of no interest to me. I don't take instructions from donors and lobbyists. I don't care about them. I don't care about them. I don't take my orders from the media, or as I affectionately call them, the fake news media. And as you know, they've turned out to be far more fake than we ever thought. And they've really turned out to be corrupt. They are corrupt. They are really corrupt. The word fake is not strong enough, especially after what we've seen, where stories, major stories, the biggest story anywhere in the world is absolutely not covered. It's hard to have scandal when you have no coverage. And they work in conjunction with big tech, and they protect each other, and they protect the Democrats, because with the Democrats, you don't have somebody up talking like I do about them. So they can do whatever they want, and this will only lead to very bad things. I do what is right for America. I do what's right for America. It's made me a lot of enemies in Washington, but I wear their opposition as a badge of honor. Winston Churchill once said that it was a nation that had the lion heart. I had the luck to give it the raw.